Hi guys, welcome to the channel. Please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. So as you guys can see from the title, we have another update in the Maurice Scott lawsuit that he has going on with the YouTubers. And also he has gotten on network dragged into this multi-million-dollar lawsuit. The last video update we did, it was an objection motion submitted by the content creator's attorney to OWN's motion to dismiss the counterclaim. The update we have today is OWN actually responding to that latest objection. We're going to get straight into the video. The documents are on the screen. As you can see, this document was electronically filed on 11/13/2024, which is today's date. It was filed in the Circuit Court of Madison County. We have Maurice Scott listed up there and Ms. Black Titanic listed as the defendant, and it reads, reply in support of motion to dismiss by third-party defendant Oprah Winfrey Network, LLC. Comes now, third-party defendant Oprah Winfrey Network, LLC, by and through undersigned counsel, and submits the following reply brief in support of its motion to dismiss. Introduction. Defendant/cross-claim plaintiff Ms. Black Titanic response seeks to obfuscate the issues before the court, but the analyst need not be so difficult. To state a claim upon which relief can be granted based on vicarious liability or the doctrine of respondent superior against OWN for its actions of Maurice Scott. Ms. Black Titanic had to plead facts, not bare conclusions, alleging that Scott is an employee or agent of OWN and that his alleged misconduct occurred under the scope of the relationship and in furtherance of OWN's business. To state a claim upon which relief can be granted against OWN individually for the 21 tort claims, Ms. Black Titanic had to plead facts alleging that OWN individually engaged in torturous misconduct. Accepting the fact within the four corners of this cross-claim as true, Ms. Black Titanic has not pled facts that entitle her to relief against OWN under either theory or liability. Argument. Failed to plead facts demonstrating 1, that Maurice Scott is an agent or employee of OWN, or 2, that any misconduct of Scott occurred in the scope of that relationship. The distinction between mere conclusions and fact is instructive for the review of Ms. Black Titanic's cross-claim. While factual allegations are accepted as true, conclusory allegations, unwarranted deductions of fact, or legal conclusions masquerading as fact will not prevent dismissal. Under Alabama law, an employer or principal incurs vicarious liability to third parties only for the acts of an employee that are performed within the scope of the employment, or for the acts of an agent that are performed within the scope of an agency. To explain vicarious liability under Alabama law, Ms. Black Titanic cites South Trust Bank v. Jones. While Ms. Black Titanic only discusses general rules of law from South Trust Bank, the court holding an analytical framework are also instructive. One question decided in South Trust Bank was whether a client may be held vicariously liable to a third party for torturous conduct committed by the client's attorney during litigation on the client's behalf. Citing the restatement second of agency, the Court of Civil Appeals of Alabama and South Trust Bank noted, a principal who authorizes a servant or other agent to institute or conduct such legal proceedings as in his judgment are lawful and desirable for the protection of the principal's interests, is subject to liability to a person against whom proceedings reasonably adapted to accomplish the principal's purpose or tortuously brought by the agent. The court held that a client was vicariously liable for the actions of its agents, its lawyer, when that action were taken not for the personal motive of the lawyer, but in clear furtherance of the client's business and interest. While the specific question in South Trust Bank is not what this court faces here, the analytical framework is similar applicable. Here, Ms. Black Titanic has not pled an agency relationship between Scott and OWN, such as that of attorney and client like in South Trust Bank. Even if she had, Ms. Black Titanic failed to plead that any wrongful acts by Scott were 1, in the line of scope of its employment, 2, that the acts were in furtherance of the business of OWN, or 3, that OWN participated in, authorized, or ratified the wrongful acts. In order to state a claim that OWN is vicariously liable for the actions of Scott, parsing out the conclusory allegations, Ms. Black Titanic has failed to plead an employment or agency relationship between Scott and OWN, or that Scott alleged misconduct took place within the scope of employment or agency relationship. To determine what exactly is claimed by Ms. Black Titanic, OWN must weed out the conclusory allegations that are not paired with facts and that blatant mischaracterizations and misquotations of the cross-claim language in Ms. Black Titanic's response. In Ms. Black Titanic's response, she highlights a most basic word search of her cross-claim complaint in order to illustrate a basis for individual, joint, and severe liability of OWN. However, these bullet points only direct the court back to conclusory allegations regarding OWN or misquoted facts. For example, Ms. Black Titanic pled that Scott is likely, some believe, using a lawsuit as a new theme for his show, for advertisement, for profit, and a way to appear dominant and in control over his television and internet audience. Ms. Black Titanic has not pled that Scott actually used this litigation or any alleged misconduct in his show, that OWN has aired any element of his litigation, or that OWN was even aware of, much less authorized, Scott to pursue litigation as a theme for his show. Any inference in Ms. Black Titanic's response to the contrary is misleading and misquotes the cross-claims text. Speculating that Scott is likely, some believe, using the lawsuit as a new theme for his show is blatant conjecture. All other facts pled by Ms. Black Titanic and highlighted in her response about Scott's alleged misconduct fall short of demonstrating that any alleged misconduct took place within the scope of and in furtherance of the employment or agency relationship. Ms. Black Titanic directly misquoted her cross-claim multiple times in an attempt to show that Scott alleged misconduct or this litigation was within the scope of and in furtherance of the employment or agency relationship between Scott and OWN. For example, Ms. Black Titanic asserts that OWN coached Scott and empowered Scott to file a lawsuit in her response. This conjecture does not appear in the cross-claim. Instead, the cross-claim complaint states that Scott appears to have been coached or empowered to create and file the lawsuit all about himself when he can be in control of his own narration and creativity. Ms. Black Titanic did not plead that anyone specifically, much less OWN, coached or empowered Scott to pursue litigation against Ms. Black Titanic. Ms. Black Titanic further asserted the complaint described that Scott inserted photos of himself into the lawsuit he filed in this case for his celebrity and OWN entertainment purposes, so as to shape his own lawsuit as a made-for-TV/internet drama opportunity for OWN. Document 150 at 10, citing Doc 104 at 40. Again, this is not what the cross-claim says. The cross-claim complaint states that Mr. Scott's face and picture have been repeatedly scandalized and made the center of jokes, indecency, and immoral suggestions permeated across the internet, as the character Mr. Scott plays on the reality show is designed to do, or at least as should be expected, and Mr. Scott has made an irrelevant video of himself a photo opportunity and filed the video images as an exhibit to his amended complaint lawsuit filed 2 months later on February 26, 2024. Ms. Black Titanic has not pled that Scott pursued this lawsuit as TV/internet drama opportunity for or on behalf of OWN, that OWN has aired any element of this litigation, or that OWN was even aware of, much less authorized Scott to pursue litigation for the show. Ms. Black Titanic continues to misquote the cross-claim throughout the response. She claims that Scott became OWN's internet police, seeking silence and censoring for OWN, whereas the cross-claim states that Mr. Scott apparently believes he is the internet police, where he and he alone may command authority over YouTube, seeking to censor and silence women. And Mr. Scott has shown that his desire to censor and control these African American women viewers is a full attack. Emphasis provided. Nowhere in the cross-claim does Miss Black Titanic plead that Scott is censoring for OWN or is OWN's internet police. Miss Black Titanic, the complaint describes that Scott filed a lawsuit to boost his ratings for OWN. To the contrary, the cross-claim states Mr. Scott has filed a lawsuit, complaint as amended, centered not around any legal defined defamatory statements, but instead about boosting his own image and esteem on the internet and on a television reality show. Nowhere in the cross-claim does Miss Black Titanic plead that Scott engaged in misconduct on behalf of OWN or in an attempt to boost ratings for OWN. Miss Black Titanic did not plead facts alleging that OWN knew of or ratified Scott's alleged misconduct. She further did not plead facts that Scott instituted his defamation act for the benefit and under the direction of OWN. In summary, turning back to the true text of the cross-claim, Miss Black Titanic has pled that Scott appears on the show Love and Marriage Huntsville. The show airs on OWN. Scott has a celebrity status based on his appearance on the show. Scott promotes the show, and Scott has let the show in on both public and private moments in his life. Taking these facts as true, these still do not establish that any alleged misconduct by Scott as set forth in counts 1 through 20 of Miss Black Titanic's cross-claim was within the scope of and in furtherance of employment or agency relationship between Scott and OWN, or in furtherance of OWN's interests. To survive OWN's motion to dismiss, Miss Black Titanic must also have pled facts demonstrating that Scott is an agent or employee of OWN in order to proceed with vicarious liability or respondent superior theory of liability. For the reasons set forth in OWN Original's motion, Miss Black Titanic has not adequately pled that Scott is an employee or agent of the Oprah Winfrey Network, LLC. Instead, Miss Black Titanic seems to argue that because OWN was the platform to give Scott his celebrity status, such that he is an inseparable creation of OWN, a product, and Scott's actions as a celebrity are at alleged issue here, then OWN must be liable because of its mere connection to Scott as a celebrity. Scott's civil complaint against Miss Black Titanic and any of his actions taken to identify and serve her with his complaint that amount to the alleged misconduct in pursuit of his individual rights and remedies under the law, entirely separate from the network on which an unscripted program he appears upon airs. No facts were pled in Miss Black Titanic cross-claim establishing otherwise. Part 2. Miss Black Titanic pled no facts alleging OWN individually committed any of the torts alleged in her cross-claim. In addition to vicarious liability, Miss Black Titanic also claims that OWN is individually liable. Taking the allegations as true and viewing them most strongly in the pleader's favor, there is not a single fact asserted that OWN individually engaged in any of the torturous or otherwise wrongful or illegal conduct. This portion of OWN's argument is straightforward. There are simply no facts or even improper conclusory allegations in the cross-claim that OWN individually committed a tort against Miss Black Titanic. In her response, Miss Black Titanic is still unable to point this court to a single fact about OWN's individual tortious conduct. She does not state that OWN participated in or used Scott's conduct for television content. Instead, she speculates that every move of a character such as Scott is a potential film or episode on OWN's show. Notably, she has not pointed OWN or its court to actual film or episode content showing OWN's individual involvement or ratification of Scott's conduct. The remainder of Miss Black Titanic's response asks the court to accept conclusory allegations, including ones not found in the cross-claim itself, to find that she has adequately stated a claim upon which relief can be granted against OWN. Contrary to Miss Black Titanic beliefs that OWN is clearly the mastermind, the purpose, the final approving force, the ratifier, driving force, motivator, and controller of every detail, torturous event, and controversy forming material, episode material for OWN's show, she has failed to plead the facts showing that OWN has ratified Scott's conduct, was aware of Scott's conduct, or that OWN's interests were served by Scott's conduct in pursuing his individual legal rights through litigation. Conclusion. For all the reasons stated above and in OWN's original motion, Miss Black Titanic cross-claim should be dismissed against the Oprah Winfrey Network, LLC in its entirety with prejudice, dated November 13th, 2024, and is respectfully submitted. So you guys, let me know what y'all think about this motion down below in the comments. Don't forget to like the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.